Hello and welcome into this edition of the Rundown with Caleb and Casey here on a Thursday afternoon. Caleb Holking, as always, joined by Casey Schiessler. Happy to be with you today, bringing to you another podcast. Holy smokes, Casey. Last week it was about negative a zillion. This week it's beautiful. It feels like a late March Sweet 16 Elite 8 type of weekend beginning on a Thursday afternoon, but instead we're like a month early. You don't get too much better than this.
No, it's gorgeous. There's 100-degree difference in the state of Iowa in the last week, I think they said. From a low of negative 20 or something to a high of 60.
Man, imagine that.
It's insane, but I mean, we're definitely not complaining. Love the weather. Light hoodies and sweatpants. I mean, we're inching closer to shorts weather here, and then, think about a week ago, we were in coats, 2 pairs of hats, gloves, and the whole 9 yards, if you will.
Yeah, I would prefer this weather, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's, a little bit more desirable. We're back here today, inching closer to March. The countdown is on. Our pal John Rothstein is all ready. He's got his hour-by-hour countdown. I think he started, at 48 hours?
Yeah.
Which would have been, obviously, it would have been midnight, obviously earlier today on Thursday afternoon. And I always love when he's doing that. You know that the NCAA tournament is approaching. I, for one, and I think a lot of it has to do with, being a Cyclone fan, and these TJ Otzelberger teams now for the 4th year in a row just kind of stink at the end of February. It's just kind of a trend. We'll discuss that here in a brief moment. But I think at this point in the year, this point in the college basketball season, I am ready for March to start. I'm ready for March to be here. Even when March 1st hits, you still have, a week of the regular season?
Yeah.
But, my goodness. I mean, you just mentioned it a little bit ago, Casey. The, what is it?
Atlantic
Sun begins their conference tournament this weekend, the first official one.
Mm-hmm.
We're here.
Yeah,
it's time.
This is our last night to sleep for an entire month, Caleb.
True.
So we
haven't been sleeping since November, right?
No,
according to John.
We really haven't, but this is our last chance for
if we want to.
If we opted to, of course.
Yeah.
But
we'll be sleeping on the concrete outside of Hilton Coliseum, right?
We will. Yes, yep. We'll be. I don't know if it's sleeping. We'll throw on a movie or something.
Sure.
We'll watch Moneyball. We'll watch. Remember the Titans.
Give me some Hoosiers. I love Hoosiers this time of year.
That's a good one. Miracle, of course.
R.I.P. Gene Hackman, by the way. I think he passed away either today or yesterday. Yeah, I saw some stuff on Twitter.
That. Oh,
that's a sad one.
Yeah, rest in peace. Wow.
I know. Bummer. I feel like there have been a lot of big deaths in sports and sports television, sports media this year.
Bob Iger.
Yep. Bill Walton died this year.
Died.
There's some other ones that
the March Madness.
Oh, Greg Gumbel.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be the first March Madness selection show this year. Without him, is gonna hurt when he's not there. I wonder who the host is gonna be.
I don't know. I feel like they have to do a memorial or something to kick it off.
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
Yeah. It's CBS. They're usually really good about it. I wonder if they throw our buddy John up in the panel.
Yeah, he deserves to be there.
Yeah.
He should be there because they have Clark Kellogg, they have Seth Davis. I think Jay Wright's part of the squad now, or usually he is for their studio shows.
I like that addition.
Yeah, he's a good one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find out here online who's going to replace him. I'm not seeing too much right now. Maybe it's kind of a secret for the time being, but all that to say, it's about time for March. It's February 27th as of today, a non-leap year, which means we're that much closer. Tough Tuesday night in Cyclone Land.
Tough week, dude. Tough week. But Tuesday night was especially rough.
I suppose we haven't even we technically haven't been able to discuss the Houston loss on Saturday, which to me, had Iowa State won against Oklahoma State on Tuesday night, even if it was kind of a, not too good of a showing, I think I would have felt pretty good today.
Yeah.
Considering how well they played against Houston in the Fertitta Center on Saturday. I think without Keyshawn Gilbert, Curtis Jones, which we hadn't found that out at this point recording last week. We didn't know they weren't going to play. That became news. That became a rumor on Friday and was confirmed late Friday night, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So, our discussion that we had last week on Thursday kind of got dated pretty fast because it got to the point where it's like, okay, let's just go out and see how well we can play without, arguably the two best players on the team in Gilbert and Jones. And I thought the Clones played really well on Saturday against Houston. I thought, and we don't need to spend too much time on that because I think the Oklahoma State loss is a much bigger story at this point. But I was very encouraged by the play of Nate Heisey, by the second half play of Milan Momcilovic. I thought Joshua Jefferson had a really good game against Houston. It was a solid performance, really against all odds. But, people say this a lot in sports, and I think it's very true. When something happens to a coach, when something happens to a player, it kind of galvanizes the team for one game, right? So when Keyshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones are both out, I think there is something to be said about, especially when you're playing a big game against Houston, you kind of rally together and you play better than you probably should, and that's what they did on Saturday. And then really in hindsight, I think that Oklahoma State game definitely was a sleeper, a trap game, where you go into an arena where there's, 4,000 or 5,000 people? I mean,
Yeah.
that Oklahoma State crowd was horrendous. And honestly, it's sad to see because Gallagher-Iba Arena used to be a very, very good environment, very good home court venue, and it's fallen off in recent years. And it honestly does bum me out because I do like when Oklahoma State is a good basketball program. But you walk into that venue where there's no juice and you kind of have to create your own juice, and Iowa State certainly did not do that on Tuesday.
No, none whatsoever. Kind of just battling through, and we saw Saturday was like they found a way to battle. Different guys got minutes. Chatfield, 20 minutes off the bench. D-Watt, 17 minutes off the bench. Cade Kelderman played 9 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't mention that. That's a good point. Good pull there.
And
he played well. He played tough on D.
he played all right.
He had one play where his ankles were taken out.
He looked like a
underneath him,
walk-on.
but Yes.
But-
He was fiery out there.
My issue is you play Noyes a combined 2 minutes in 2 games with your 2 best
Yeah.
scorers out,
Yeah, I
which
don't
is
know.
kind of an issue. And you kind of worry about, is Noyes going to stay now, like not really playing him, giving him minutes. Like this is the opportunity if you want to give, your big recruit minutes that you can't give him a red shirt now. So might as well go out there and play him. But
Yeah.
maybe they know some stuff that we don't. But Cujo, 29 minutes off the bench. Chatfield, 13 minutes. D-Watt, 7 minutes against Okie State, but just couldn't find a way to get it done.
Yeah. It was disappointing for sure. I saw a lot of people calling it, the worst loss of the TJ Altenberger era. I think it's up there. I think it's probably, and the nice thing about the TJ era is you don't have a ton of horrible losses to take from. But I think it's top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
When you look up and down the line, there were some of those games in year one where, that team, albeit they went to the Sweet 16, they had some games where they just couldn't score at all. So I suppose those would be up there as well. But all around, the biggest thing right now, Casey, 16 turnovers against Oklahoma State, and there were I think 6 or 7 within the first 4 or 5 minutes. It was really bad, really, really bad rate there. And this is something where at this point, I don't know if it's changing. You kind of are who you are at this point of the season, right? It's February 27th. You've played X amount of games. We've seen this for so long now where Iowa State continues to struggle in the turnover battle. They're still forcing a good amount of turnovers, but they certainly are not executing at a high enough rate in the transition game, offensively and especially defensively when it comes to turning it over. Teams are getting a lot of points off of turnovers against Iowa State, a lot of live ball turnovers, a lot of just kind of lazy, forced errors that is uncharacteristic of TJ Altenberger teams now that we're 4 years in. I don't know. I think it might just be part of this team's identity at this point because, the regular season is almost over.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think your only nice thing is, you gave up 30 turnovers in the 2 games and you forced 29. So it's not like there's a crazy turnover difference, but I feel like we're so accustomed to, being that aggressive defensive team and forcing turnovers. I mean, to be fair, we did win the turnover battle against Houston, who is arguably the number 1 defense in the entire nation.
Yeah.
I mean, they are year in and year out. They're right there, top 1, top 3 every single time. Forced 17 turnovers against them, had 12 of our own, but for whatever reason, I don't know if Okie State changed something or they went a different defensive scheme or different pressure was applied because, I mean, you get Keyshawn back coming next week. You get Cujo returned that game, but still, Cujo had 2 turnovers that game. Our starters, Joshua Jefferson, forced 7 turnovers. Maybe it was something they were doing in the post that was different, but Houston's known for forcing post turnovers with how they double it with guards. So I don't know what it was, but 18 turnovers and 19 fouls just will not get you wins in the Big 12.
Yeah, and Curtis Jones definitely did not look right on Tuesday. I think he was still probably recovering from whatever sickness he had. It sounds like walking pneumonia was the diagnosis. That's why he missed the Houston game on Saturday. He didn't look right. And did you watch the game on Tuesday at all? Did you happen to watch it?
The Houston game,
The Oklahoma State game.
the Okie State game, I did not watch the
Okay.
Okie State game.
I watched most of it, unfortunately. Found my way to get through it. It just did not, and I don't like questioning effort because these guys, what they put themselves through over the course of 5 months during the college basketball season is a lot. And when you have a game like this in a really, really lousy venue with 4,000 fans against a bad Oklahoma State team, it can be hard to get up for. And that's what it kind of looked like to me with a lot of these turnovers is I think they kind of expected that they would be able to sleepwalk through this game and get out of there with a win and come back home for a 2-game homestand. And Oklahoma State, credit to them, bit them right where, they bit them and they got the victory. And I'll give Oklahoma State credit. Whoever that big man was, Asumani or something like that.
Oh, Abu Osmani.
Osmani, yeah, he had a really, really good game, and Joshua Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson couldn't do too much against him down there. So it's I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret this game, this loss. I think ultimately, man, and TJ said it after the game, like unacceptable. This will not happen again. I believe him. I believe the coaching staff that like that kind of effort, that kind of turnover output. They will certainly be working on that this week, and I think he's really going to get the guys in check because this has happened a couple times now. We saw against Kansas State what happened when they were just kind of lazy. Oklahoma State, same thing. And again, I don't mean lazy effort-wise per se, more so just forcing turnovers.
Yeah.
Stuff that is unforced, I should say. So, yeah. Tough. There's no other way to categorize it. It was a bad loss on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean, Osmane had a fantastic game. 8 of 8 from the free throw line and 3 of 5 from 3 for a 6'10" guy. It's just utterly insane.
Yeah.
You put that with 3 offensive boards, 3 defensive boards, 4 steals, and a block. I mean, he only had 1 turnover for a big. Those are fantastic numbers. Like, if Okie State can get that night in and night out, has he got any eligibility left is the other question. He's a senior. I don't think he does. Well,
Bill Self's not going to go grab him.
he might. Who knows? Or he'll go down and play for Auburn.
This guy's probably got like 2 medical red shirts and several other red shirts.
Isn't Auburn the oldest team in the nation, though?
I think so. They're almost as old as the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, by like 0.4 years on average.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane.
I wonder how close they are to the Green Bay Packers in age, because that's a young, or at least last year they were really young. I'm sure they obviously aged this year, but
I would hope so. Man,
I would venture to guess the Packers aged over the course. Not entirely sure.
I think in the span of a year they have gotten older.
Probably.
I'd put my money on it.
Yeah, I think they're probably close there too.
I think the difference though is the NBA is like you come in younger. You know, you're drafting 18-year-olds out of like Europe. You're drafting guys 1 year removed from college, where you don't see that as much in NFL. Like, you can't even draft freshmen. You got to wait till sophomore year or something.
Because otherwise, Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, they would both be in the draft this year.
They'd both be gone. So you got to wait at least 2 years. So I think that's a big difference in things. And then once you've sunk that much time into college, you might as well stay around another year and play.
Yeah. Here's the problem too, and we do need to address this because this is to me like one of the underlying issues. If you look at it, Iowa State is still 18-1 this year with their full roster, where everybody's healthy, right? With that one loss being a buzzer beater against Auburn. And I think we have to talk, like, that is still a very important part of this conversation. Now, am I saying it was excusable to lose on Tuesday night against a bad Oklahoma State team? No, definitely not. Regardless of the injuries. And Curtis Jones is even back for that game too. What I'm saying, though, is, and people understand this. Smart Iowa State basketball fans understand this. TJ Altenberger and his staff, they structure their roster in a very specific way, right? They don't go out there and just get sheer talent. They get the best fit. And I think that's how you win at Iowa State, clearly. I mean, with the success they've had in the first 4 years, it's a proven way of doing things where you go for fit for one reason or another, whether that be, good culture guys or, they fit in TJ's style of play really well, kind of that, blue-collar mentality. There's a reason why each and every one of these guys are here. Now, the risk you run when you do that is you have a very small margin of error when it comes to injuries, right?
Yeah.
Because, you think of a puzzle when one piece isn't there, right? It's not complete.
Yeah.
And, that's not a nuanced thing to say. But I think it's accentuated with Iowa State because when one guy isn't there, these guys are all built on fit and how they play with each other. It just makes it hard because you're not necessarily just, throwing the next 5-star up to go score 20 points and force however many turnovers. So, I think it's very clear that when Iowa State isn't at full capacity, and the other thing too is up until, the last 5 or 6 weeks, Iowa State under TJ has been very lucky in the injury game. Like they have. They have been very lucky to have avoided any major injuries over the last 3.5 years. It's just the last few weeks has kind of all hit them at once with Momcilovic and then, Curtis Jones getting sick, Keyshawn Gilbert now having a muscle strain. So I think that is, to me, that's still kind of the looming aspect of why things have been a struggle, ever since Milan Momcilovic got hurt in the first place. You just haven't been at full strength. And the tough thing is, too, I think this team will be at full strength by the time March happens, but you haven't had a game where they've all played together against high-quality competition in so long, because when they were at full strength after Milan came back, it was against 4 pretty bad teams in a row. So, you know what I mean? The last time, to me, that they played a game at full strength against a good team was at Texas Tech back in January, and they won that game, right? Probably the best win on the schedule right now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt. But that's the one thing that concerns me is I do think this team will be healthy when March Madness starts, when the Big 12 tournament starts. But is it enough time for them to get reacquainted with each other?
Yeah, without a doubt. And the issue is if you keep dropping games like you just dropped to Houston, you just dropped to Okie State, you fall further and further in bracketology.
Yeah.
Right now, you're sitting as a 2 seed. You can still hold on to that, but if you deal with injuries, guys kind of sit out and you keep them for March, you fall to that 3-4 seed. Well, now all of a sudden, instead of playing a 15 seed and maybe the worst conference best team, now you're playing a pretty decent conference and their conference champion who may be hot. Like they're on a roll. You go out, you play High Point, who's one of, the best mid-major teams right now. You go out and play Jacksonville State.
Shout out to Alan Huss.
Shout out Alan Huss. Yeah. Akron, who had the longest winning streak for a while. Lipscomb, those are 13 seeds. If you keep falling, you don't go far in the Big 12 tournament, you're facing those teams they're on fire. They're putting pieces together and they've got a full head of steam downhill, and you're trying to keep your guys healthy and get everyone back kind of on the same page. It's 2 very different styles meshing against each other.
And that's the scary thing with this turnover problem is when you go against a team like that, one of those 13, 14 seeds, if you turn the ball over at a high rate, teams like that will find a way to punish you, right?
Yeah.
Even with the talent disparity. Like that, you bring up a good point, Casey. That is definitely scary.
Yeah, and you think of the teams like Florida Gulf Coast just a couple years ago. When we were younger, just absolutely routing teams. We see more and more, I think, every year upsets are becoming more possible. Mm-hmm. 16 seeds are now, they've gotten a couple wins.
Yeah.
They're stringing things together. It's now not chalk where, the 1 seeds all advance. It's not very common. They've only got, 2 wins for a 16 seed, one against Purdue and one against Virginia.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and so now it's although it's not super common, it's happening more and more. And all of a sudden, 12 seeds are winning at a higher rate. 14 seeds are starting to sneak in there, too. We've got 11 seeds going to the Final Four. it's no longer chalk where best team is going to find a way to win. Sometimes, teams get hot. NC State, that team caught on fire, almost didn't, like, they were
What a story.
second to last in the ACC, caught fire, win the ACC tournament, and just get hot at the right time. Anyone can do it.
And the second time they've done that in their program history, too, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they do it back in, like, 1980?
I think so.
Yeah. Insane. What a story. That was so cool last year, by the
Yeah.
way. That was DJ Burns, man. What a cool story. I completely forgot about that until, like, recently, and people started bringing it up again, but that was insane.
We think all the legends around this time of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, Joe Lunardi, ESPN bracketologist, has Iowa State as a 3 seed, the highest 3 seed. So number 9 overall is where he has them. And we can kind of mix this in with our, bracketology conversation, as that is now becoming very important. But I do think that, so Iowa State 3 more games. You get a 2-game homestand, which is what this team needs right now, right? You got to come back to home. And I think that they will bounce back. I really do. On Saturday against Arizona, I really do think with all that's on the line in this game, the revenge tour against Caleb Love and obviously everything that was involved in that back in the game in Tucson. It's obviously a ranked-on-ranked matchup. You've got both Tyrese Halliburton and George Niang in town this weekend. Tyrese Halliburton dropping his Olympic banner inside Hilton Coliseum. There is so much. Red Panda.
Red Panda.
My goodness, how did
Can't
I
believe
miss
you almost
that?
forgot that. I was
See,
waiting for it.
I didn't include her because she's just so high above the rest that it almost like is unfair
Yeah.
to even mention her at all because of the magnitude that her name implies.
Yeah.
But she will be there as
She
well.
will be.
So yeah, that's why we're camping out 2 days in advance for the Arizona game, is to see Red Panda herself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why else we would camp out.
Just flipping bowls on top of her head. It's on a unicycle.
Pretty impressive. I mean,
Insane.
only reason I'm showing up, allegedly, there's a basketball game. So
I can't do that. Could you imagine doing that? Sit
no.
on a unicycle and flipping bowls on your head?
How does it not break on your head? Or
Great question.
you get hurt. Like if I don't know if I kicked a bull from. Granted, I'm a little bit taller than Red Panda, but if I kicked a bull up and tried to land it on my head, I feel like like those cartoons where it hits your head and you get the big bump. That's what I feel like it would feel.
I agree. Yeah. That's talent right there. That is pure.
That's better than any
pure
basketball
athleticism.
player.
Yep.
Yeah, it's above MJ, above
100%.
LeBron. It's Red Panda, guys.
But anyway, so Arizona Saturday, BYU Tuesday. Those are both great opportunities to get resume building wins. Arizona obviously beating them. That's a high quality opponent to beat. They've slipped a little bit in the last couple of games. They're still ranked though. That's a quad 1 win without a doubt. And then BYU, that's a surging basketball club right now. How many they won in a row? 4 or 5 maybe?
I think it's 4.
They
just beat Arizona. I remember.
Yeah, they've
that.
been really good. So that'll be a ranked game on Tuesday night as
5
well.
wins in a row,
Okay.
dating back
Are they
to
ranked yet?
at West Virginia. I believe they're 25.
Okay.
Yeah, 25
So-
on the dot.
Yeah.
So
as long
two
as
ranked
they-
two ranked games in a row, and then we play just the biggest 6-game frauds of all time.
Jeez. Yeah. Down in Manhattan, though. See, that, honestly, to me, even though Kansas State is the worst team in that group of 3, that game still, to me, is the least likely for Iowa State to win. I do think they...
You can rest
Yeah.
that game. Who cares? We're out of the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
I think
well, here's the problem. Because I do think the one thing still on the line,
that
obviously, is the seed line. But
yeah.
Iowa State, to me, and I think you would agree with me on this too, and everybody would, needs that double bye in the Big 12 tournament.
Is that just the 1
Top
and
4.
2 seed?
It's top 4,
Top 4?
which right now they're competing with BYU
BYU.
and Tech, I think. But they
And
have
Kansas.
Kansas still in there
Kansas
as well.
1 game back. Tech's the 3. Iowa State BYU tied at the 4. Kansas
Right.
1 game back at the 5.
So you need Texas Tech to lose. Need a big Kansas win on Saturday at Allen Fieldhouse against the Red Raiders. Rock chalk.
You might actually want Texas Tech to win that. Because if
Uh,
Iowa State drops any games, they're tied with Kansas, but is the
Yeah.
tiebreaker head-to-head?
Well, but even if it is, Iowa State,
Iowa State would
Kansas
have
are
that. That's
still-
why I was asking if it
well,
was or if it was
no,
something else.
they're tied, right? 1-1 against Kansas. Iowa
Oh,
State,
yeah.
Kansas. Yeah. They have the head-to-head over Tech. But I think what you just got to hope for is that Iowa State wins out and Texas Tech loses a game. Actually, no, I'm totally lying because Tech is 3.
Yeah, Tech's 3.
yeah, okay,
So,
okay. So that
that's what I was
doesn't really
saying.
matter.
Tech
Yeah,
can beat Kansas, and that takes Kansas out of it. And if Iowa State beats BYU,
correct.
and then I think
I totally misread that because I thought Tech was 4.
yeah,
Yeah, so good point there. I suppose, yeah. As a Cyclone fan, you do probably want the Red Raiders to win that game this weekend. But yes, the double bye to me I think is very important, especially just with the injuries this team has sustained. You know, you need that extra day of rest.
yeah,
because
without a doubt.
a non-double bye game, what do you gain from winning? There's all you have in that is to lose,
Yeah.
right? You only have anything to lose against a bad team. If you win it, it's like, well, you should have won. That does nothing to your resume, and you waste energy in a meaningless game.
Yeah. You got to play a 2-15 Colorado or a 4-13 Arizona State.
Correct.
Like neither of those are just you're kind of throwing guys out there to throw guys. What the best case scenario is you're up by so much at half, you rest guys in the second half.
Yeah.
But it's the Big 12 tournament. Like these guys are fighting for their season at that point. They're
True.
not automatic qualifiers.
True. Yeah, good point. So yeah, I do think that this is a really good opportunity for Iowa State, these final 3 games, because again, both those home games, those are big time resume boosters. And I think if Iowa State were to go, let's say they go 3-0 in these last 3, Lenardi tends to be pretty close with how the metrics look at things
Yeah.
and the net and everything like that. I think that's probably enough to put Iowa State back on the 2 line. If they go 3-0 throughout, you probably need a little
2
bit of help
ranked
in front of you.
wins.
Yeah, 2 ranked wins. Plus, let's see. So a win
Someone
at
in the
K-State would
SEC
probably be,
has to lose.
Yeah.
I can pull up the quads.
what would a win at K-State be? Would that be quad? Because now they have quad 2A and 2B, right? They have A and B for each quad. Isn't that right? Or has that always been a thing?
I have no clue.
I think they do even separate within each quadrant.
So, our 2 home games are quad 1s, and K-State is a quad 2 game. They
Okay.
just dropped to quad 2, actually, according to
Okay.
this.
Well,
So if there is, it would be a quad 2A. If we win out 7-5 in quad 1, 8-1 in quad 2,
so
3-1 in quad 3, which is the home loss to K-State.
yeah, so as long as you get help in front of you, I think Iowa State should be on that 2 line.
Yeah.
Because Texas Tech is also a 3 seed. Arizona's a 4 seed. I forget that because Arizona's second in the Big 12, but they had such a bad non-con that they still are only a 4 seed by most.
Don't sleep
Yeah,
on
by
them.
most metrics. I know. Definitely don't sleep on them. It's just that, they still haven't, their seed line never will fully recover from that bad non-con slate.
Absolutely insane to me that a home game versus Northwestern is just as valuable as a road game at Kansas State.
Is that for Michigan State?
That's for Maryland. I was
Oh,
looking at it. Maryland goes to Northwestern to end their season, which is a quad 2 game.
Yeah.
I mean, Northwestern sucks.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I do think I'm pretty sure that within each quadrant now they separate between A and B.
Really?
Because yes, think about let's say Iowa State were to beat Houston on the road, and then you beat TCU on the road or something like that. Like those are both quad 1 wins, but obviously
Different
a win at
quad,
Houston is
yeah.
insanely far and away more superior than that. The
Yeah.
latter there, so I think they do separate. But yes, I think to our conversation here, to the point of our conversation, I think if you win out, you probably are back on that 2 seed line.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, turnover battle, you got to start winning that, and you got to stop having these unforced turnovers. And then the other thing too is just got to hope that everybody's healthy. I think Keyshawn Gilbert will play on Saturday. That's kind of what we've been hearing. I think he's practiced the last couple of days now, so that's a good sign. Hopefully Curtis Jones is fully healthy from whatever sickness he had. And this is where you really just kind of do some soul searching and decide, how you want to cap off this regular season here. And, I think this team with momentum going into the Big 12 tournament, that's going to be a dangerous team to beat. They just are lacking that right now. But a great opportunity here to snag some really high quality wins and get that back.
Yeah, without a doubt. Your season can change in the span of, one game. And I think this is to get things going, to get guys back on the court, get healthy, get your feet under you right before Big 12 play, which is the toughest conference to win. And then you got to go into March Madness. If you play good in Big 12 play, it always looks good heading into March Madness. You kind of get your legs underneath you. You get a head of steam rolling now instead of kind of stop and go like we're at right now. So a couple of big wins Iowa State needs to pull off here.
All right. Good stuff. Well, do you want to talk anything Big 12 here? I'll leave it up to you if you have anything to say. I feel like we hit on just a good amount of the teams in that conversation. But
yeah, I think for now we can just leave it at that because we'll go Big 12 conference play. We will preview next pod.
Yeah, Big 12 tournament play.
Yeah.
I think so. Close to that. Yeah, at that point. Do we have some picks this week?
I did not have.
That's fine if we don't.
Did not have any, unfortunately.
That's all right. I haven't even really looked at the slate this weekend, to be honest.
There's not a ranked game on Friday. There's
Auburn, Kentucky on Saturday.
Auburn, Kentucky. I mean, we can pick that if you want to.
Yeah, I guess we can.
Might as well.
I'll stick with Auburn here because they've just been so unbelievably consistent. I think Rupp Arena will obviously be hot. They'll bring the fire. But Auburn, the Tigers, what a just steady team they've been over the course of the season.
You got to get crazy sometimes. Give me Kentucky. They find ways to win at Rupp Arena. That's kind of the consistent thing with them. And finding ways to win throughout the season. Do I think this is actually going to happen? No, but I think if Kentucky's ever going to pull off an upset, if Auburn's going to drop a game, this is kind of the one where a Kentucky team that found a way. They made mistakes, but found ways to win. If you can iron out those mistakes, and go out and play your best game and still find a way to win, this is the best chance you have. Really helps your seeding. And I think it's the win that Mark Pope, he really wants this season to kind of not necessarily put a bow tie on it, but to be a big star on the season, I would say. So give me Kentucky.
At Kentucky here, so I have Joe Lunardi's seed line by conference pulled up here on Twitter, and Kentucky is the 6th ranked team in terms of seeding, according to Joe Lunardi in the SEC, and they're still a 3 seed, which is unbelievable. I mean, that conference is just so loaded this year. He's got 13 total teams in the tournament as of right now, and then Georgia being a member of the first 4 out. So
Georgia's going to jump in, though, because Georgia just beat somebody big.
Oh,
they beat Tennessee.
Yeah, they killed somebody. Yeah, good point.
I can't remember who it was, but Georgia just got a big win. Vandy just beat somebody who was good.
He does have them in as a 10 seed. So the lowest 2 he has in are Texas and Arkansas, both members of the last 4 in, which Arkansas, I guess they've won 2 in a row now, but man, that's a fringe one for me. Same with Texas. Georgia beat Florida.
Yeah.
On Tuesday night.
At home, it's a big win.
Mm-hmm.
Vandy beat somebody as well. I can't remember who, but
they've beaten so many. They won at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
At
A&M, because that was just a crazy night in the SEC.
Right. What an interesting season Vanderbilt has had. They've had some massive victories against some really good teams.
They've beat some really good teams, and they've lost to some really bad teams. That's the story of Vanderbilt in every sport, it seems, except for baseball.
I suppose. Yeah. Did you want to pick any more here, or should we move into 3?
That's like the only good ranked game. Okay. I think Auburn plays A&M, but that one's A&M's so hot cold it ain't even worth it.
All right, 3 for 3 here.
Let's do it. Do we want to start with our not 3 for 3 or our not top pick, if you will?
Yeah, we can do that.
My not top pick is a eulogy to Kansas basketball. Dropping out of the top 25 for the first time in 1,477 days, second longest top 25 streak, and it was well-deserved to drop out. They got to bounce back. They're 2-0 in the new season, as Bill Self says. But, what was all the way back to 2021, things were going really good, but can't rely on too much nowadays. Got to show it in the scores, got to prove it. So Kansas is my not top pick.
Alrighty. Well, hey, they're 2-0 since they
2-0
dropped
in the
out of
new
rankings,
season.
right? The new season.
So Bill Self has been
the
saying.
trademarked new season.
Yeah, according to
Copyright,
Coach Self.
copyrighted new season. Big one this weekend again in Allen Fieldhouse against Tech. My not 3 for 3 is something that actually occurred back on February 6th, but I don't believe we've talked about it because we, haven't had that many episodes since then.
Yeah.
I think only one since then, not including today, which was last week.
Yeah.
I know you saw this. It was the student at halftime of UMass.
UMass.
Yeah, he made a half-court shot, was supposed to win $10,000, and the insurance company that was sponsoring, you know how, at halftime or like between, media timeouts, they have these,
The putt
companies.
to win a
Yes,
car.
exactly. That was pretty sweet at Tech. Yeah, these companies.
One at
they
Nebraska and
sponsor
one
this.
one at Nebraska happened too. Not too
Oh,
long
that's
ago.
right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they sponsor these. Yeah, if you're not a person who attends college basketball games, you might not know. But yeah, these companies, sponsor these shooting challenges. And yeah, this kid made a half-court shot, was promised $10,000 by the insurance company if he made the shot. And to find out that this insurance company said, no, we're not going to give it to you because your foot was on the line when taking the half-court shot. That's just
Did they have any
unbelievable.
proof of that, or are they just like, is there camera proof that they're like,
I
your
would
foot's
venture-
definitely over the line, or are they just like, is there any way to counter it or anything? Because that's just,
I would venture to guess they probably didn't expect for this guy to make this
Oh,
shot.
yeah.
And they would have to force feed him $10K.
issue is you're gonna lose out on a lot of money because
that's
anyone
horrible
who's at
marketing.
that game, they're done with you.
Well, and I mean, how viral this went too.
Yeah.
I know the name has been dropped. I'm trying to find out what it is here, but yeah, just a total scam. Not 3 for 3.
Yeah. All right, into our top 3 picks now. Starting out with Michigan State hockey, roster got released. My favorite part of it, Red Savage wearing the number 21. So there is a
Heyo.
21 Savage Michigan State hockey jersey
Love it.
that you can go out and purchase. And I've thought about it because I feel like that'd be pretty sick to rock
Yeah.
around in.
Or just like frame it up in your bedroom, 21 Savage.
Yeah, for any of you who don't know 21 Savage, very, very solid rapper.
Indeed. Are you a big 21 Savage listener?
I wouldn't say a big listener. I'm a fan. I like
Yeah.
his work, but he's not a guy I would go to consistently.
Sure. Just to have that jersey is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
This is a good one. My number 3 here is the PA announcer in the Prairie View A&M Mississippi Valley
Oh.
State basketball game from Monday night. This is the Prairie View A&M PA announcer,
Yep.
and we can't exactly like summarize it right here and now. You'll have to go look up the video. You can find it, I know, on Mississippi Valley State's parody Twitter account.
Yeah.
They posted all the videos, a montage, indeed, or in fact, of this
4
guy's
minute, 18-second
different-
montage.
different calls. But it's so funny because you're watching this montage, and there's like 3 people in the stands at Prairie View A&M, and this PA announcer is losing his mind. He is just every time Prairie View A&M makes a 3, he is just absolutely coming unglued, and then he's pressing all these buttons.
Got
to
a
make sound, like
soundboard.
NBA sound effects.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny.
Awful.
It's the most hilarious and ironic thing of all time.
Hate it. Can't stand it.
You're not that? Would that be not
No.
3 material?
That was actually up there for my not 3 for 3. I will say.
I just think it was.
I
my
think it's
favorite part of it
hilarious,
is
but I
that there
hate
are
it.
literally 3 people in the stands, and this
Yeah.
guy is just like totally out of place,
Yeah.
acting like it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Without a doubt. Hilarious, but not huge. My number 2 is a team we talked about in last week's podcast. How about those Omaha Mavericks upsetting LSU 5-4 in game 1 of the series? Shout out Carter Navin.
Big time.
Once again, getting it done against SEC, handing them their first loss of the season.
Big time. Let's go. Love that pick. We're proud Omaha natives.
Mhm.
Love UNO. My number 2. I kind of teed this up last week and decided it'd be better to do it this week. I'm gonna give my number 2 to the Drake UNI game from this past Sunday.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Fantastic.
Did you watch that game?
I did.
That was so much fun. The McLeod Center up there in Cedar Falls was hopping. I mean, that place was the sound was really coming through the TV really well, and you could just tell that place, they had been planning for that game for months on end. And this is the first year in a while where both Drake and you and I have both been really good and competing for, that top spot in the Missouri Valley. Drake comes out with the win in overtime. I do think you and I kind of got a little bit screwed on that foul call to send it to overtime.
Yeah,
It's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would, as an official, probably default to swallowing my whistle in that situation.
late game, I feel
yeah.
like unless it's very obvious, you got to.
Yeah.
But
oh well. I mean, credit to Ben McCollum. What he's done with that Drake team in year one. The
won the
continuity-
conference.
Yeah, the continuity from Darren DeVries to him has been fantastic. But really just that atmosphere, that game between two really good Missouri Valley teams.
Yeah. And, of course, number one, let's head it to some small school baseball. University of Maryland East Shore ends their 55-game losing streak, dating all the way back to May 2023, with a 14-7 win over Townsend. Found a way, dude. Found a way.
Heyo.
55 games straight. That is a rough one, but
Yeah, that's tough.
Eagles are out there winning now. It's all uphill from here now. Downhill, I guess. It's all uphill for a while.
Probably for them.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. My number one, also going the baseball route. And this occurred almost 2 weeks ago now. But Tucker Timmerman from Nebraska, the ground ball shot he took off the face.
Dog.
Again, I mean, you can look it up on Twitter, online. You can see the pictures of him afterwards. What an absolute trooper to take that ground ball going 85, 90 miles an hour right at him. And, man, I mean, that's the definition of, like you said, a dog right there. I thought that was pretty sweet to see him. I mean, he got up like right away. Obviously didn't pitch the rest of the game, but yeah, that's
Took a rough one and then was seen celebrating on the field
Yeah, he
after
was
the game with his team.
pictures of him smiling too. It was
Yeah.
great, as blood's just coming down his nose.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a baseball player thing
Love
to
it.
do too. Like
Rub some dirt on it.
rub some dirt on it, keep playing, hang around for the boys.
Right on. All right. Anything else today?
I think that's all. Let's watch some good basketball.
go.
And Caleb, we sleep in May.
We sleep in May. Ain't that right? Next time we'll see you guys, it'll be March. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na,
Na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
da-na-na-na-na-na. All right. That's about all you need to hear from us on that front. We'll see you guys in March. Thanks for tuning into the Rundown with Caleb and Casey. Have a great rest of your week.